There are 5 steps we're going to follow to write the equations of lines in the following slides. First thing you need to do is figure out the slope you need. And you're going to be given most of the time an equation. So you're going to have to decide if you're going to use the parallel slope or the perpendicular slope. You're next going to set up point slope form. And point slope form looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You're going to plug in the point that you're given for x1 and y1. So I'm talking about these right here, x1 and y1 in the point slope form. Then you're going to solve for y, and you're going to write your final answer in the form y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form. So now we're going to try to write the equation of a line that goes through the point 12, 5 and is parallel to the graph of y equals 2/3 x minus 1. And we want to write our answer in slope-intercept form. So the first thing I want to do is look at my given equation, and I want to identify its slope. So slope is the number next to x, so the slope here is 2/3. And since I'm looking for a parallel line, I want to use the same slope. So 2/3 is the slope that we're going to use. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up point slope form. So I'm going to do y minus blank equals 2/3 times x minus blank. And if you remember, the things that I'm going to plug in here are y1 and x1, if you look back in that the previous slide. So now my x1 and y1 that I'm going to plug in are these numbers right here, x1 and y1. So I'm going to plug in 5 here where y1 goes, and then 12 where x1 goes. From this point, it's all about simplifying. I want to get y completely by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute this 2/3. So I'm going to distribute it to the x and to the negative 12. So what I'm going to end up with here is y minus 5 equals 2/3 x minus, and now I'm going to go over here and do a little bit of scratch work. 2/3 times 12. I'm not going to worry about the negative. I'm just going to worry about the 12. What I like to do is multiply across. So 2 times 12 is 24. And then 3 is still in your denominator, because really what you're doing is 3 times 1 in the denominator. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So that's what I'm going to write over here is 2/3 x minus 8. Now my last step would be to add 5 on both sides. So I have y equals 2/3 x, and then negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So here is the equation that I am looking for my final answer. So this is a line that is parallel to the one that we were given, so this one up here, and it passes through the point 12, 5. We're going to do a similar problem, but now we're given an equation and a point, and we're looking for a line that is perpendicular to the graph. So here's my equation. I first want to identify its slope, which is 3/4, because that's the number in front of x. But this time I don't want to use the slope 3/4. I want to use a perpendicular slope. So the perpendicular slope, as you remember, would be the opposite reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3, and then we have to make it the opposite sign, so this would be negative. So this is the slope that we're going to use when we plug it into point slope form. So I'm going to set up point slope form again. So I'm going to do y minus blank equals the slope times x minus blank. And now we're going to plug in x1 and y1. So x1, or sorry, let's do y1 first because it comes first. So 8, and then x1 is 1. And now we have to simplify. So again, I'm going to distribute the negative 4/3. So let's see, I would have y minus 8 equals negative 4/3 x. And then if I multiply negative 4/3 times negative 1, it's going to give me positive 4/3. Now my last step here would be to add 8 to both sides. So I would have y equals negative 4/3 x plus, and then I'm going to go over to the side and in green I'm going to do a little bit of scratch work. So I want to add 4/3 plus 8. So in order to do that, I need a common denominator. You could also put this into your calculator, but what fun is that? So what I'm going to do is multiply this fraction. It's not a fraction really, it's a whole number, but you could make it look like a fraction by putting it over 1. I'm going to multiply it by 3/3 so that I have two fractions that have a denominator of 3. So here's my 4/3 that I just copied. And then 8 times 3 is 24, and then 3 times 1 is 3. So now I have two fractions that have 3 as its denominator. So I would have 28/3. So that is what we're going to add over here. So this right here would be my final answer. A quick reminder about horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal lines look like this. They're straight across. So this is horizontal. And then vertical lines are up and down. So their equations look very different, and they actually look very different from everything we've talked about so far. Horizontal lines have an equation that looks like y equals, and then it's going to be just a number, okay? And then vertical lines have equations that are the opposite. They are x equals a number. And just to refresh your memory, a horizontal line, the slope is 0 on every horizontal line. On every vertical line, the slope is undefined, or you might see it no slope. So undefined / no slope. We're going to look at writing the equations of lines that are parallel and perpendicular to horizontal and vertical lines. And then we're given a point here that's -3, 4. And we're trying to find lines parallel and perpendicular to the given lines that go through that particular point. So I'm going to draw a picture because I think sometimes it's easier to visualize these when they're the horizontal and vertical lines. So I'm going to plot the point -3, 4. So I'm going to go left 3, up 4. So here's my point, -3, 4. Okay, so part A, it asks us to find a line parallel to y equals 6. So I'm going to write a couple things here. First of all, since this is y equals, I know that this is a horizontal line. So if I want to write a line parallel, I need to write another y equals line. So I can go ahead and write y equals, and then what I want to do is just draw a horizontal line through this point so you can kind of see what we're going for. So here's my line. So it's going to be a y equals line. And if you just count up on the y-axis how far up it is, that's your number. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the line y equals 4. So this is a line that's parallel to the line y equals 6 and crosses through the point -3, 4. And if you'll notice, this 4 and this 4 right here, that's not a coincidence. That would happen every time. All right, so now for part B, we're looking parallel to x equals 2. So x equals 2 is a vertical line. It's a vertical line that crosses the x-axis at 2. So any vertical line, all vertical lines are parallel to each other. So I know I need to do x equals, and then I need it to go through my green point. So if I draw a vertical line through my green point, and then I count where it crosses through on my x-axis, you'll see it crosses through right here, and that is at -3. So that is my parallel to x equals 2, but goes through that point. So this is x equals -3. And again, -3 here, -3 here, that's not a coincidence. All right, part C, we need to find perpendicular to y equals -1, and it has to go through our point. So first of all, this y equals line, that y equals line is horizontal. But since we are looking for perpendicular to that, our answer is going to be vertical. So let me write answer will be vertical. So if I'm looking for perpendicular to a y equals, my answer will actually be x equals. And then if you look back to our graph, we actually already have this line on here. It has to go through our green point. So if I draw a line vertical, a vertical line through this green point, it's going to be exactly the same as the dark blue line. So it's going to be the same answer, x equals -3. And then last but not least, perpendicular to x equals 5. So x equals 5 is a vertical line, but we want our answer to be perpendicular to that, so that would be a horizontal line. So that's going to be y equals, and if it has to go through this green point, that means my only choice is where this purple line already was. So it's going to be the same answer as part A, y equals 4.